Why is Trump calling the media his enemy? Why is he polarizing this politically, not as Donald Trump against the Democrats or the liberals, but Donald Trump against the media? It's a very sage and a very good strategy on his part. Trump understands ratings and circulation better than anybody else. And he knows that the number of households that watch TV news has been dropping. He knows that the number that watch cable news other than Fox has been dropping, and that the circulation of the major dailies in this country have also been dropping catastrophically, dramatically. And by attacking the media as the enemy, and by portraying their attacks on him as basically the ravings of the opposition party, he's really fundamentally reducing the impact that the media is going to have. Trump won this election despite the almost unanimous opposition of the establishment media. And he won it because he was able to convince his people and the majority and most of the voters throughout the United States that the media was biased in its attacks, unfair, and pushing fake news. And as Trump makes that point and scores these negative points on the media and shows up specific stories as being fabricated or inaccurate, he really is able to undermine the credibility of the media, and in the course of doing it, reduce their ratings, reduce their reach, and reduce their power. And look for him to build up alternate media, Breitbart, for example, Fox News, Wall Street Journal, as alternatives to the mainstream media, which is really biased against him. This is a strategy that normally is ridiculous. Mark Twain said, "Never fight with anyone who buys ink by the barrel." But Trump is doing that. And in this modern era, when you have the internet and you have other new media and you have all sorts of other opportunities for news media and opinion to get out there, including these lunch alerts, it's a perfectly reasonable thing for Trump to do. By the way, I haven't shared this with you, but I just learned that since I've been doing these lunch alerts, a total of 11 million unique people, and boy are they unique, 11 million separate people have watched at least one of these, and 350,000 have watched 30 or more. So it's new media like that that offers an alternative to the conventional media, and Trump is pushing people into those and away from the conventional media. A brilliant strategy. Ronald Reagan said the ship of state is the only ship which springs leaks from the top. And leaks have been a feature of public policy and administration really for time immemorial, but certainly for the last 3 or 4 decades. But the leaking we're seeing today, the anti-Trump leaking, coming from within his own administration, is not leaking, it's sabotage. It's basically deploying the power of the FBI and of the other intelligence agencies to undertake investigations whose goal is to dig up compromising material to embarrass the President of the United States. It's as if a porcupine, whose quills were always outside of its body, aimed at defending its body and protecting its body, suddenly had the quills turned inside, instead shooting or pricking the body itself and inflicting its danger on the body, not on outside invaders. This is the government turned inside out. And we're seeing in the Obama holdovers, the folks that have yet to go, because it takes so much time to get sworn in, to get confirmed, to get your feet wet in the agency, and then to begin to replace people under you in the bowels of the system. Obama's people are taking advantage of that delay to dig up material or investigate and come up with new material, true or not, made up or not, to besmirch the Trump administration. And leaking, which is sort of, I let spill something, is just the wrong word. The media itself, the press, is the end product of that assembly line. The whole point of the investigations, the whole point of the sabotage is to give it to the newspapers so that they can publish it. This is the use of the press and of the federal investigative apparatus to embarrass and undermine the President of the United States. It's an entirely new phenomenon. And it uses the press as a propaganda tool. It uses the press as a scandal sheet for the left wing. And it's becoming really revolting. Donald Trump's speech at CPAC on Friday really gives us time to realize that we have on our hands here a new Ronald Reagan, the truest conservative. Just as Reagan took the skeletal outline of free market economic doctrine and married it to tough national security and social conservatism to create the compound that has been called conservatism in the last 3 decades, Trump took that compound and added the additional ingredient of a populist approach aimed at appealing and helping workers and those who've been left behind by the global economy. It was a brilliant insight and an innovative one, one that really is what is something of Trump's own doing. And at CPAC, that was on display. This is not just a matter of campaign rhetoric that helped him win votes he normally wouldn't have from white, uneducated men in the working states of the country like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and so on. This is a conceptual addition to the conceptual layer, if you will, to the compound that is called conservatism. And just as Ronald Reagan changed the composition of conservatism without in any way betraying its fundamental doctrine, so Trump is doing the same thing. And his speech at CPAC reminds us of what an important historical figure he is becoming in the lexicon of conservative ideology. Trump brings back privatized prisons. There are 2.2 million people in the United States who are in federal, state, or local jails or prisons. And about 10% of those are in privately run prisons by private companies. Obama eliminated that and announced that he was going to end all of those contracts and put all those folks back in state and federally owned prisons. And he got about halfway there when he ran out of time and got out of office. Now Trump is reversing policy and saying that we should put the prisoners where they can be housed for the least cost and also the highest quality. We're spending $32,000 a year per inmate on people locked up in those prisons. And one alternative is, of course, to release them, which Obama did, damn near decriminalizing crime, releasing drug dealers and a host of other people serving life sentences back into the community. And not all old men either, a lot of them still of a vital criminal age. But the other alternative is to reduce the cost and be more efficient and don't let the padded expenses of a government program inflate the cost of the prisons. So Trump is now moving to bring down that cost by restoring private prisons and using them to compete with the public sector. Now, of course, the unions and the Democratic Party don't like this, but it's a vital component of bringing federal costs under control. Chelsea Clinton, please go away. You know, I believe Bill was a good president, certainly in public policy, and a corrupt ex-president. I think Hillary was corrupt all the time and a totally ineffectual Secretary of State. But Chelsea is just an idiot. She doesn't belong on the public stage, and she has no credentials to be there. She wrote a book that just came out that is number 22,853 on Amazon. She had a $600,000 contract to do appearances and commentary on NBC TV, and she did nothing that they could put on camera. They started, then they saw how terrible it was, and essentially she did it in the back room without actually being on camera. She took 4 years to learn her stump speech for Hillary and still needed index cards to do it. She's largely supported by her husband, who made a vast amount of money in hedge funds, closely associated with Goldman Sachs, relying primarily on investments from Clinton campaign donors. And after the election, when the donations were shut off, he closed down and lost $25 million. She's taken to trying to build her reputation by tweeting commentary about Donald Trump. The only qualification this woman has for anything is that she happened to be born with the last name Clinton. She drops hints that she might run for office in New York. Well, hey, bring it on. She recently had her publicist set up a gig with the New York Times book review section where they asked her, what are the books on your nightstand? And she followed with a list of pretentious books that would probably topple the average nightstand. And she constantly tells us, once again in that interview, that she's nursing her baby. TMI. Would you please go away? Thanks for watching.